to the Kula Women's Wellness Tribe, the podcast. Get comfortable, get your walking shoes on, and let's get going. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Kula Women's Wellness Podcast. And I have a lovely guest with me today. We're going to talk everything self-love, everything under that umbrella. And so I have the beautiful Alice Snowball with me. She is a self-love coach from the north of England, from Stoke-on-Trent originally, like me, and now resides in Leeds. And she's also the mother of 2 teenagers. So I'm sure that she'll have lots of advice as well for you other mummies listening, or not mummy when you're a mother of a teenager. It's not a mummy anymore, is it? Still a yummy mummy though. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Yeah, so I live in Harrogate now, so just outside of Leeds.
Oh yeah, Harrogate. Yeah.
So my self-love journey has been a bit of a different one to everybody else who I'm learning how to coach with. I haven't done any yoga. I've been doing a bit recently. I've never been really into the sort of woo-woo self-love type. I don't know how to describe it really. And I was a bit, when I saw people who did it, thinking, oh God, that's a bit weird. So I suppose it's looking at it from a different angle. So I haven't my own business. It's quite a masculine business. And I've always sort of classed myself as probably more masculine energy than female energy. Mm-hmm. So going into self-love is very feminine energy, which is very different. I'm a qualified NLP practitioner as well. So that's neuro-linguistic programming. Pre-COVID, that's what I used to use to coach. So my journey with self-love, my journey in my life was I'm always been very fun, but my fun has always been fueled by alcohol and other things. So I'm kind of realizing now that it wasn't true fun. It was sort of made fun by taking substances to make me fun. Yeah. I've yo-yo dieted all my life. So it's funny, last week I had a clear out and I've cleared out my wardrobe now, and I had clothes from a size 6 to a size 16. And I just used to go up and down them. So all this was my life: drinking a lot, eating a lot, going on mad diets, exercising loads, then falling off the wagon, and then drinking loads and eating loads. And it just went on like that. And it wasn't very healthy. It seemed the drinking was fun, but actually it wasn't really. Yeah. Then I discovered in the first lockdown, self-love. And it was my coach actually had heard a podcast with Gina Swire. And I listened to it and I thought, actually, that sounds amazing. So then I got onto one of her courses. And I did find it all a bit sort of woo-woo and a bit out there. And some of it really didn't resonate with me, but some of it really clicked with me. And I just became really happy and stopped obsessing about my weight, stopped weighing myself, and just felt a lot calmer in myself. And actually I stopped drinking as well during lockdown, whereas most people were drinking loads, I stopped. And it was lovely. So I really enjoyed it. And then when we got back to normal, I kind of lost the plot a bit and went back to how I was. And I thought, what am I doing? So then I looked back into self-love again because I knew it worked for me the first time. And that's where I am now. So then I thought I might start coaching it.
Yeah. And that is a journey. And I definitely, a lot of people who I think even listen to this podcast, and you mentioned like the woo-woo, the spiritual side, and your self-love journey, if that isn't your jam, it doesn't have to be that part of it. So I definitely think some listeners will have said yes when you said that, because I know from talking to other women, they just, see one side of it. I think it's the side you see on Instagram and the social media that, it's the spiritual side, but the other side for people who are not so woo-woo and who, are going on their own journey that doesn't involve the woo woo, or you've never meditated. So I completely resonate with you with that as well. Excuse me. So tell me a little bit about so when you came out into the first lockdown, what kind of things were you doing to sort of, when you opened the door and self-love was there, and how did you start that journey of realizing that you wanted to make these changes?
Well, I think it was a massive change and shock for everybody, because I went from having a massive business with over 20 employees to me on my own at home with my 2 teenagers and my husband. And it was a little make or break, because obviously there was no business coming in. So I think it was more just to have something to focus on. And so what it teaches you is to be happy, and that happiness is a choice. Obviously, if you've got clinical depression or something deeper, then that's different. For me, it was just making the choice to, I didn't love myself. Once you start respecting the fact that everybody's individual, and then not everybody has to be a size 8, and being the size 20 is beautiful too. It's not about size, it's about the person within.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier when you realize that, and then when you can start sort of appreciating yourself, how amazing you are. And then magical things start happening then, and it does become slightly woo-woo, and you do get a bit like that, but the beginning of it isn't like that. It's quite matter of fact. So yeah, and then it all just clicked into place. I did a 12-step course with my coach, and it was a lot of online courses. Lots of other women were involved. But listening to other people's stories as well is really important, and where they came from, and you kind of learn from each other.
Yeah. And do you think before you started your self-love journey, and you were going out drinking and the partying, because I definitely have been there, and yeah, before I feel like COVID for some people was a make or break, because I haven't really drank since before lockdown. I've just completely, not intentionally, but I suffered with anxiety, and because I wasn't going out drinking, I was like, oh, okay, so the anxiety seems to have gone, or it was better, and then I was able to link my anxiety to, I don't know if you were doing the same, using alcohol and going out as kind of a plaster that you're just sticking on top of how you really feel. So you go out, have a good time, have a laugh with your friends. When you're doing that, you've got none of these things on your mind. And then the crash comes and you have a week of pulling yourself back together, or you're just living to each weekend, because that's when you feel like, in quotations, that you feel okay, when it's completely the opposite. So did you have the same kind of experience that?
Yeah, totally. And it is quite amazing. The challenge I have now is the people I surround myself with, including my family, are drinkers. So I've stopped drinking again now, and I love it. What I used to do before was, and in lockdown, because obviously we weren't going out, was I'd stop drinking for a month, but not go out. So I'd change my life, but that's not sustainable, because you obviously still need to go out. So this time, and I've had to make excuses to people why I've stopped drinking, because people are just so shocked and they don't like it. But I feel so much better. So I go out now and I can do about 4 hours until everybody becomes really annoying. And then I just go home. But then you wake up the next morning feeling fresh. You've got no anxiety. But I was still having a great time. And actually, after the 4 hours, I can never remember what happened after that anyway, because and then you just wake up feeling crap the next day.
Yeah.
And anxiety, that like hangxiety, they call it, don't they?
Yes.
It's just, yeah. So
fear.
I think when you truly experience self-love, because you're loving your body, it just changes naturally. So you don't want to put shit into your body. Like coffee, I used to drink coffee all morning. I have one coffee a morning now, and even that I don't particularly enjoy now, so that will probably stop. Alcohol is just like, no. And then even things like pain relief. I've got a hip replacement that is broken. It's a bit boring, but I know I'm pain relief, but I'm taking like the bare minimum that I can take because I just don't want to put that into my body. And then the other thing that happens is your diet changes because you start eating stuff that's good for your body. And then your weight drops off as well. So it's not, I don't need to lose weight because I'm very happy the way I am. But the sort of after effect of it is that because you're not eating crap, you just, you feel good. It's great.
Yeah. And I agree. Everything, it does go hand in hand, because before, when I first moved to Dubai, it was kind of like I was in the middle of my intense anxiety, didn't love myself, partying, brunch every week. It was like being a student again, but I was in 30. And, so you've got all these people that move and you're abroad and it's brunching and partying and McDonald's. I think one day I had a McDonald's for every meal. And I know now I'm like, oh my God, but it's because I didn't love myself and I was in this anxious place and I was just putting this food into my body. And now when I look, like, I don't intentionally diet now. Like, I eat healthy, but because I want to. It's not because I'm like, oh, I need to, there's any diet or anything there. It's because I don't want to eat McDonald's. I still do. And I still occasionally, shall we have a McDonald's? But it's a treat and it's not my main meal.
If it's with intention, it's okay. So, for example, I'm going to Ibiza in 3 weeks and I'm not going to sit there and not drink and not do that, but I'll do it with intention rather than just because I'm doing it to cover something up or to feel better. That is a different thing. And like last weekend, some people came for lunch and she made a lemon meringue pie. I'd never had one before. I had a piece of that, but I ate it to enjoy it, not to make myself feel better. Which I used to do before. You'd have a piece and you think, oh God, I feel really guilty. And then you'd eat another piece to make yourself feel better. And then before you know it, the whole bloody thing. And So
if there's anyone listening to this that feels like they're in that place now, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's body image, what advice what's the first step you would advise them to take?
Well, I think the first thing for self-love is loving yourself. It's easy to say and easy to do, but we're also busy. Nobody, and especially if you've got kids and a job and blah, there's so much going on. When I'm coaching ladies now, the first thing I notice is nobody spends any time to themselves. Mm-hmm. So, for example, every morning I get up at 5:30. I'm not saying that everybody has to get up at 5:30. I'm an early riser, but I walk for an hour every morning on my own. And I can listen to a book or music, but it's my time. And I know people like bathing, doing different things, but you really need to just take some time for yourself and get out of everybody. Because all everybody's doing is doing stuff for other people and giving and giving and giving. I think the number one rule of self-love is to take some time for yourself so you can have time to love yourself. So that's step number one, I think.
Step number one, take time for yourself. And I think especially for the mothers listening to this, because I know mothers, I'm not a mother, I'm just a dog mother.
You're a dog mother.
But from speaking to my friends, most of my friends do now have children. Some of them, have got teenagers. And I know that my friend I'm going round the reeking for this, my friend had the teenager, my best friend, and she's just had a new baby. And I was sort of giving her coaching / when you're a coach and you talk to your friends, you sometimes step into coach role, don't you? Yeah. And she struggled to get this time for herself and asked for help. So how do you advise your clients, and what advice would you give to have that conversation with friends and family of, you're starting this journey and how they can help?
You don't really need to tell them that you're doing that. It's quite hard to describe self-love is. And I think that's what puts people off when you label things. Sometimes when I describe it, if I'm in the office and somebody says, oh, you're doing that self-love thing again. So you don't need to tell them what you're doing. You just need time for yourself. And everybody should be allowed to have it. So yeah, just say I would like to have an hour for myself, or it doesn't even need to be an hour. 10 minutes is enough time to start off with. But people need to understand that it's good for you, and then what happens is it benefits them, because if you're a mum and you're grumpy, as I know, everybody becomes grumpy when the mum's grumpy. But if you've got a happy mum, then everybody has a much nicer life. So if they understand that by giving you an hour every day or an hour twice a week will benefit them, then they'll quickly give it to you.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's where that saying happy wife, happy life comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to think of one. Grumpy mum, I couldn't think of a rhyme, but so happy wife, happy life came into my head.
Yeah.
That's the right way around. But yeah, and that's, we can laugh about it, and it's kind of one of those jokes, but it's true. It is true. And mums dads might want to claim head of the household, but like you say, if mum's in a mood, everyone's in a mood, and you can sense when your mum, and even now as an adult, when you can tell that something's wrong with mum, and you can say, like, listen, I need this time, this is for me, and this is how it's going to affect all of you. So yeah, definitely taking that. When you have your clients, then what is the most, I don't know if I could label it as most popular, the most common theme or thread that comes up with your clients?
So when we do the one-to-ones, we kind of look at 2 sessions into their past, 2 sessions into their present, what's going on, and 2 sessions into the future. Normally the first conversation is all about they don't have time for it. They're giving, it's just what we've been saying. They feel like they're giving and giving and giving, and they haven't, and you, so coaching is guiding people. It's not telling them the answers. And every time you can see the penny drop that, wait a minute, I'm not spending any time for myself. And then that's what happens. And by the end of every first session I've had, they agree to then have some time before the next session for themselves. And even just that small change just makes the biggest difference.
Go on, sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, the other thing I'd love to mention is having a teenage daughter and a teenage boy. I think self-love, what I would like to do with my coaching of self-love is do more work for teenagers as well, because looking at what they have to go through now, they literally live with a phone in their hand, and they never have downtime from being contacted. Or when I came home, I'm in my late 40s now. I don't actually know how old I am. somewhere late 40s. When we came home, that was it. We were home. Mm. Now they're just constantly bombarded by stuff and having to compare themselves and compete with people. And I know, listening to how she talks about her friends, I'm quite fortunate because I speak to Sophia and make her understand about things. But her friends, some of the things that are happening to them in their lives are quite shocking. So to be able to give this, what we're learning now, to them would be amazing. And that's something I'd love to focus on as well.
Yeah, I love that. I have my niece is actually 14 today. And when I go home and I see, obviously she's grown up so quickly, but I feel I definitely wasn't that grown up when I was 14, and they have so many, what I would label adult things going on, but in a teenage mind and a teenage body, because like you say, they've literally got the world at their fingertips. They can see things that we wouldn't have seen, until maybe in our 20s, or heard of things. And I think back to being her age and not know, my mum was still telling me to cover my eyes in Ghost when Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore were doing the sexy bit on the pottery, and Dirty Dancing as well is always another one. When I watch that now as an adult, when they're kissing and dancing, all I hear my mum is cover your eyes. And even now I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't be watching this. I'm an adult. So how do you help your daughter through that then, knowing that they can literally, at a click of a button, be exposed to not just like Patrick Swayze making play with Demi Moore, but, you know, the image stuff. You know, my niece will not leave the house without her eyelashes and her eyebrows. And we have to literally, you know, we're going out, we have to wait for her to do her eyebrows. And she just doesn't have the understanding of that it really doesn't matter. But she, you know, and I'm just like, oh God, it's such a worry that she can't. How do you help? What advice do you give to other mums, daughters and sons, teenagers?
I suppose it's still the self-love talk. So whatever you're taught, so what I'm taught, I pass on to Sophia. Sophia's been doing coaching as well with some of the other coaches, which she's got a lot out of. And she's 18, so she's at that age. But I think even 2 years ago, she would have really appreciated. Sophia's got quite a curvy figure, and she looks quite grown up, but she owns that figure and she loves it. Whereas she's got other friends who are tiny, who have got body dysmorphia, you know, and it's just like, but I think that's because I speak to her in such a way that, you know, you have to love your body. You're a work of art. You're perfect at being you. That's it. And we are who we are. Yeah. I suppose the thing is, though, it's the formative years until you're 7 that you're taught things. And in those years, before she was 7, I was yo-yo dieting, doing one diet after another. So she was brought up with that in her head as well. So I'm having to get rid of all those limiting beliefs that I've already put in her head.
Yeah. And I think that is a thing that, again, I'm not a mother, but I know that, you know, not hiding that away. And if you do have daughters particularly, I can't remember what I was watching, and that exactly this came up, that the mother was putting, you know, weighing out her protein shakes, and the little girl was watching, and then it flashed to the little girl looking at her own bum in the mirror. And it was so like, oh my God, because she was 5, 6, just a little girl, but looking at her own body the way that her mum was in the mirror. And I was just like, oh my God, this is, you know, this is why people we overshare now, and girls see this online. And it's amazing that your daughter has this self-confidence, because it's very easy to fall, and especially on social media. Even I, as an adult, had to unfollow so many accounts because they just made me feel crap. It made me feel rubbish about myself.
I think when I used to trek her off to Slimming World, oh God, I would not do that now. I mean, she was like 12 or 14.
Yeah.
So what was I doing? What was I thinking? Putting her through that. So if I could go back now in time, I would have started this journey. Well, I would have started it when I was 20 probably, or 18. I'd love to have known what I know now then. And then I would have brought my children up differently. I mean, all I can do now is just teach them as much as I can now. But if anybody's thinking about doing it, not just for yourself, but doing it for your family or friends as well, it's just the most amazing experience. And to feel happy most of the time, rather than just some of the time, is the most amazing thing to be able to do. Yeah. And have that choice to get up in the morning and go, right, today set my intentions for today. And I'm going to have fun today. I'm going to do this today. It's just lovely.
What are your intentions for today?
So my intentions for today, I'm doing my one-to-ones with all my guys at work. So I'm going to be helpful with them today. And I was going to have fun today. And also I was going to be kind. I do 3 intentions for the day. They're normally quite similar. I think fun's really important. So fun that doesn't revolve around alcohol is the best type of fun.
Yeah, I think one of my intentions today was be kind to myself.
Yeah.
Yesterday, not that I wasn't, but you know that even as someone who does practice self-love, you do have those days when you're like, oh, I haven't done that today. And I'm behind on the to-do list, or I forgot to send that message. And even those little things, I find, I wouldn't say that to somebody else. Like, I wouldn't say, you haven't done this. Like, so I can't class that as being unkind to myself, because if I wouldn't say it to someone else, then it's probably unkind. But yeah, be kind to myself, because yesterday I was sort of kicking myself because I hadn't got through my to-do list. And what I always remind myself as well is, if it's not done, like, what happens? There's literally like nothing. And we're so hard on ourselves that we give ourselves all these goals and targets. And again, when you're hard on yourself, you're not loving yourself.
Yeah, you've got to listen to what your body wants as well. I kind of had a day off yesterday. It wasn't really, I did a little bit of work, but the sun was shining in England. Yeah, for the first time. So I took my picnic blanket outside and went on the grass. I did work a little bit, but I did also just chill. And then I was thinking, oh God, I haven't done enough work. And I said, wait a minute. You needed yesterday. Yesterday was for you. And that's okay. That's good to be able to do that. And I'm lucky because I'm in a position where I can do that, but I've made it that way so that I can have time for myself.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think a lot of this comes from, the guilt and we put on ourselves does come from, I don't know if you feel the same way, that we're not, self-love isn't promoted. I know, like, you're promoting it, if we can promote it with the younger generation, that's amazing. But I feel that, what would we be, millennials? I don't know. We label the generations now, don't we? But I think with millennials, that it's seen as a bad thing to love yourself and give yourself that time. And, having, even I do it now, like, oh, I'm having a lazy day, or I'm having a duvet day. And it's not lazy, it's a rest day. I'm listening to my body. What we call it is, it's a bad thing, like, oh, I had a lazy day, and it's not, it's a rest. And I think, again, that's putting that pressure on us, that lazy is seen as a negative word. So if you're having a lazy day, it shouldn't be seen as a negative, but it's sort of ingrained in us that we should be working hard all of the time. And overtime is good, and staying in the office, when I was working in education, that you were rewarded by, the teachers, like, oh, I was here till 6. Oh, well, I was here till 7 and I didn't have any tea. And, I got home and I was back here at 7 a.m. I might as well just sleep here. And it's kind of like, oh, well done. Here's a pat on the back. And then the people that go home at 3 o'clock on the bell, it's like, oh, look at them going. Like, well, we have finished work, like, we're not getting paid anymore. So I don't know who's.
But then you get ill. So I've got a business now and I have quite a few staff. I can see them all now. That's why I'm looking. But so we don't work 9 till 5. We work when we're working. So if people start a bit later or they finish earlier, it's all very flexible and fluid. Because if it's quiet, there's no point, it's all sitting there just for the sake of sitting there. If you're working and making people work these long hours, which I work in recruitment and a lot of people do that, people get ill. So like you're saying, that rest day will stop you having to probably take a week off with flu later on, or with some other illness, because you're looking after your body. So it's kind of, it weighs up at the end of the day, whether you listen to what you need or you just keep going and going and going, and then you have to have a week off anyway because you're ill. So,
yeah. How do you filter your self-love training into your work then? So you're there.
Here?
Yeah.
Well, they all see how I work. So, and I'm an example to them all.
Yeah.
And I think they all love it. I'm really happy. I'm always very sort of high vibrational, positive person. I don't get stressed if I'm not hitting my figures. And I don't get stressed if they're not either. We just talk about it. And then if people are stressed, I give them tools to deal with it, like walking, or, I make everybody go out at lunchtime. I don't like people to sit all day and we have fun. People play pool, and that's self-love. Doing stuff that makes you happy. It's fun. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. And then do you find that the people around you, I'm guessing it's a nice working environment to have. If people come in a bad mood, they're no longer in a bad mood, I guess, once.
Yeah, Tuesday morning's always a bit of a, it's like bringing everybody up on a Tuesday, but I think we have about an hour and then everybody's back to where they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I know that people listening to this probably don't work in an environment where they have that. I know before I left to do this, I didn't. You'd start the day off with a meeting that would bring you down, and then you'd get emails that would bring you down. And what would your advice be to somebody listening to this who is on their self-love journey, or they're really trying, but they feel that their place of work is sort of their stop? What things could they be doing at work?
Leave. And, I think you have a choice about how happy you are. And it is a challenge when you're around people with a low vibration. I can bring people up to where I am quite quickly, but I've done that for years, even before my self-love journey, because I've always been quite a positive person. The most important thing is to have fun. So if you can make the environment fun, then everybody will come up to your sort of happiness vibe. We call it vibration, but your level of happiness. So add a bit of fun into there. And I quite often say, you're a bit grumpy. What's, just say it. Are you okay? Getting off some negative energy, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm all right." Oh, and then what they'll start thinking about, and they'll probably tell you what's wrong, and then you get past it, and everybody moves on.
Yeah.
If it's so bad though that you're in an environment like that, maybe you should look at really moving on to something else.
Yeah.
I know it's a big move, but you've only got one life, so why spend half of it in an environment where it's not fun and it's negative?
Yeah, and we spend most of our time, especially if you're in an office environment, we spend more time at work than we do at home. So I agree, and that's exactly why I did it. And it doesn't have to be a complete career change. It could just be same job, different place. So yeah, just having a think about that. One more question for anyone listening. So that, again, sees this self-love journey, might even listen to some of my podcasts and think, God, it's a bit woo-woo, it's a bit much. They don't carry crystals in their bra, or, they've never heard of masculine or feminine energy, but they are drawn to it, but are put off. So as someone that, self-confessed, none of the woo-woo to begin with, what advice would you give to somebody if they're sort of not dipping their toes or taking, a full walk into the self-love journey because of the things that they're seeing that are not their thing?
So none of it was my thing. So I didn't do yoga. I did a bit of Pilates. All the universe stuff, I was like, oh God, that's a bit weird. Yeah. Now, since I've been doing it, I love it and I embrace it and I get it, but I didn't at first. So I think try it. If you've got a good coach, or when you have a good coach, they'll understand where you're at in your journey with it. So you'll come on board and it'll be very gentle. That you don't need to meditate. You don't need to do anything. What will probably happen then is, as you do start loving yourself, you will want to find out about these things. And you'll be looking at things differently. So then you'll want to be more involved with. I don't carry crystals, by the way, but I might do. You never know. You'll gradually work into probably wanting to do these things.
Yeah, I think that's important, because you forget that not everyone's into the same thing, and I know that I'm guilty of it sometimes, and I will be like, oh, you need to, put this crystal in your bra, or carry this, or meditate. And I can tell by their faces that they're like, I don't meditate. And I have to sort of like, right, okay. And I would hate for anyone to be put off from any kind of stuff because of that. So yeah, that's really good that you say that, because I'll hold my hands up. I am guilty, and I'll tell someone to meditate, or I'll talk about the universe or manifesting, or, some of these words that just slip off the tongue. Like I'll even say to my boyfriend, like, oh, you need to write that on your intentions, or you can manifest that. And he's like, what? Okay. So I have to sort of catch myself, but it's there for everyone, and you don't need the woo-woo. You can still love yourself and go on that journey. And like you just said, Alla, that it naturally, you become more curious, don't you, as to what all of this could bring.
It's fun and happiness. They're the first two things, and they don't need to be woo-woo at all. And to get those two things, it can be listening to your favorite dance tune. It can be reading a book. It can be spending time with friends. It doesn't have to be meditating. It can be going for a walk. It can be anything, as long as you're enjoying it. And anything that makes you happy and makes you smile, you'll be manifesting then. That's self-love, all those things. And they're just normal things that we all think normal people do, but actually not many people do them, because it's all too busy helping everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've done a podcast before on those things that make you feel good. The woo-woo side is it's raising your vibration, it's raising your frequency, it's making you magnetic. The non-woo-woo side is it's making you happy. And all of those other things, whether you want to learn about them or not, the main thing is that it's making you happy. You're able to love yourself because you're happy. Okay, just to put the icing on the cake then, what is your one? So if someone comes to you and they're really stuck or they're really upset, that one go-to piece of advice or thing that you advise them to do just to pull them out of that hole?
It varies. It depends what the challenge is that they're having. I think spending an hour listening to somebody, and the first hour is normally listening. Everybody has the answers for every challenge within them. So if you can just sit and talk to somebody, and it doesn't have to be a coach, it can be anybody, and just talk, you will actually talk yourself the answer to the challenge that you have. What the coach will then do is give you the tools to help you get to where you want to be with it. I think I've said it quite a few times. The most important thing is just to take time out. Just step off of that, the treadmill of life, and just take a breath. And that's the biggest thing. And I'd say that to teenagers as well. When it's all going on, put your phone down. Stop looking at Instagram. Stop looking at everything. Go for a walk.
Yeah, I get that. And I wish I could go for a walk. It's just too hard.
You have to go around the mall or something.
Yeah. I'll wait until sunset and then I can take the dogs. But yeah, I think maybe the title for today's podcast could be "Go for a Walk." It can change your life, literally. So yeah. Oh, thank you very much. I've loved having you here today, and good luck in everything that you're doing. And I will put all of your details in the show notes, so website, Instagram, so everyone can find you there. So if you do want to speak to Alla about coaching, if you have questions, reaching out if you have teenagers, send the teenagers to Alla or ask the questions to Alla. I'm sure that she'll be able to help. So I think that is really important. So looking after our teenagers is they're the next adults that are going to be in charge of the planet. So Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. And that's it today, everybody. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you again next week. Don't forget, 5 stars, download, tell your friends. You're amazing.